Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom, and today we're going to continue talking about our featured novel of the month, The Seventh Wish, and we'll also talk about the author herself in a little bit here. But in any case, we've been summarizing the plot of the story. So basically, the main character of the story is Charlie, who is, of course, deeply or very close to her sister Abby, although not so much now that Abby is off to college. And then she has a friend named Drew, and then Drew's grandmother, and they go fishing to try to sell the fish. And then they, of course, meet this magic fish who grants wishes.
She also has a friend named Dasha, who's an immigrant from Ukraine. So she's got a life that's full of people who love her. But what is getting complicated is the fact that she's crossed paths with a talking fish, a magical fish who can grant wishes. The problem with this fish, though, is Charlie will ask for a particular wish to be granted or fulfilled, but what results isn't quite what she asks for. So sometimes the results or the outcome of these wishes are disappointing or even distressing to poor Charlie. We're going to continue talking about the plot today, guys, but as we always do, we're going to listen to day 2. Charlie feels frustrated that her parents prioritize Abby's needs over hers, especially when she has to miss the competition. This incident compels her to recognize that her previous wishes were poorly conceived, as magic cannot solve everything. Resolving to abandon the wish-granting fish, she accepts the situation and accompanies her dad to the hospital to support Abby. Just as life seems stable, a shocking truth about Abby turns Charlie's world upside down. Shortly after Abby returns to school, an urgent call discloses her heroin addiction. She enters rehab, with Charlie and her parents visiting weekly. Charlie struggles to comprehend how her once high-achieving sister fell into addiction and feels neglected as her parents focus on Abby. She wants to help, so she wishes that her family's insurance will cover Abby's treatment and aid her recovery. Before long, the situation improves. Abby returns home after treatment, and Charlie prepares for another competition. On the day of the event, Abby drives Charlie to the venue, but encounters a college friend involved in drugs. While Charlie performs, Abby takes Charlie's money and vanishes with a friend. Later, she is found having overdosed and is rushed to the hospital. Desperate to help, Charlie sneaks out to the lake to make one last wish. However, the ice breaks and she nearly drowns. After being rescued, Charlie realizes that no wish can genuinely amend the situation. She chooses to support Abby in practical ways, as Abby agrees to re-enter rehab. Although Abby cannot guarantee a drug-free future, she pledges to improve daily. Charlie is inspired to turn her final wish into a vow to confront challenges with courage, one day at a time.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're going to continue talking about the plot of the book, The Seventh Wish. And remember, where we left off, Abby was gravely ill and she had to come back home from college. So here, Charlie feels frustrated that her parents prioritize Abby's needs over hers, especially when she has to miss the competition. Oh, no. So remember, Charlie wanted Abby to come home to drive her to the Irish step dancing competition. But of course, Abby is gravely ill, so she can't do that. So of course, as you might expect, Charlie is very frustrated or she's very disappointed. Now here we've got the word frustrated. That means you just can't get what you want. You are annoyed. You just feel bothered by a certain situation. And yes, it's very difficult to get what you want. It's kind of like a blocked need, something that you want or need, but you just can't get it. Ooh, it's so frustrating.
So what is frustrating Charlie is that her parents are putting Abby's needs ahead of her own. To prioritize means You treat something as more important than other things. Maybe you have a list of things to do that you want to accomplish during the week. You want to prioritize them, put the most important thing at the top of your list and the least important thing at the bottom of your list. Charlie feels like her parents have put her needs, especially her need to go and compete in this competition, way down on the list of their priorities. But remember, Abby's gravely ill. We don't know yet what's going on with Abby, but you got to be patient sometimes when you have a sibling who needs your parents' attention more than you do, and that's what's happening here.
This might seem absurd to people here in Taiwan. Nobody can drive me. Well, I'll just take the bus or the train, you know. Of course, Taiwan is very crowded and they have transportation all over the place. But this story might be taking place in Canada or the USA, where you got to have a car to get around. If you don't have a car, you are in trouble. It's just tough luck. So yes, indeed, she's going to miss the competition because Abby can't drive her there. And she's frustrated. Hey, why are you giving her so much priority? Can't you see I need to go to this dance competition? Well, this incident, or this thing that happens, compels her to recognize that her previous wishes were poorly conceived, as magic cannot solve everything. So this again is an incident in which she can't go to the competition because her sister Abby is gravely ill, so the parents need to focus on Abby's needs. And so, yes, it compels her to recognize, it causes her to recognize, those wishes were not wished very well. They were poorly conceived.
Right.
To conceive something just means to think of an idea. So perhaps she did not plan ahead. She did not carefully word the wishes. Maybe when she wished for this boy that she has a crush on to like her too, maybe she said the name too fast and the fish didn't quite understand. So yes, these wishes were poorly conceived. They were not thought through thoroughly.
Maybe you have plans to go away to school and you conceived of them at least a decade before because you're so intent on going to study abroad. To conceive, as Tom said, just means you form a plan in your mind or you devise a plan or an idea that you want to carry out. Well, her wishes were poorly conceived or poorly planned, as magic cannot solve everything. So, resolving to abandon the wish-granting fish, she decides, hey, I'm turning my back on that talking fish. It's just causing problems. She accepts the situation, and she finds herself accompanying her dad to the hospital to support her sister Abby. If you accompany someone, you go along with them. Maybe you accompany your grandma to the grocery store to help her pick out some things to buy and bring home to cook for dinner. Or maybe you're going to a dance and your crush is going to accompany you to this big school dance.
Right. Or if you play a solo in music, of course, the piano will accompany you.
Yep.
When I went to a music competition, of course, I played the tuba and I was accompanied by someone playing the piano. But here she goes with her dad to the hospital to support Abby. So I guess she's being realistic here. She's not living in a fantasy world. She knows that she has to be strong for her sister. And just as life seems stable, a shocking truth about Abby turns Charlie's world upside down. So there's something about Abby that we haven't learned about yet.
Right.
And it's shocking. It's very surprising. And yes, indeed, it's going to cause a big change in Charlie's life.
Yeah, it's interesting. Up to this point, we honestly don't know as readers what Abby's problem was. Why was she gravely ill? Does she have cancer? Does she have some sort of, heart disease? We don't know up until this point. But it says that when Charlie, gets this shocking truth, it turns her world upside down. Something happens that Charlie would never have conceived of. I can use it that way, too. She never would have thought her sister would have this particular type of problem.
Right. So here in the next paragraph, it tells us what the problem is.
Yep.
Shortly after Abby returns to school, which I guess would mean college. An urgent call discloses or reveals her heroin addiction.
Uh-oh.
So here she is addicted to heroin. Heroin is a narcotic. I guess it makes you really happy when you take it. It's also a painkiller, I believe. And she enters rehab, which is short for rehabilitation. If you're an alcoholic or if you use certain kinds of drugs or something and you want to stop, you enter rehab. They help you lose the addiction to something because I guess if you're addicted to heroin, it's very, very difficult to quit.
Yeah, heroin is one of the worst drugs to get addicted to. Once you're addicted to heroin, it's really tough to kick the habit, as they say. So she goes into rehab. Rehab is an actual facility where doctors and nurses meet with these drug addicts, and they help them through a process of time get rid of their addiction. But it's really difficult. Heroin's one of the bad drugs to get addicted to. She enters rehab with Charlie and her parents visiting weekly. Now, usually if you go into rehab, you can't have visitors, so this is kind of nice that she can see her family once a week, kind of catch up with what's going on. They can give her support as she's going through this really tough process.
Now, Charlie struggles to comprehend how her once high-achieving sister fell into addiction. So here to comprehend just means to understand something. And yes, this would be difficult because I guess she idolized Abby. Abby was a hero to her. Abby's really smart. She's going to university. She gets good grades and things like that. I just don't understand. How could she become addicted to heroin? How could that happen? She was such a good girl. And also here it says Charlie feels neglected as her parents focus on Abby. So if you're neglected, that means people are not paying attention to you. You're kind of forgotten. You're kind of ignored. So here, of course, yeah, my parents are only focused on Abby. They're only concerned about her. And yes, they should be. But still, I've got my own needs. Maybe they need to talk to me from time to time.
We often will see neglected pets on the street. You know, they're just kind of wandering around. Nobody's feeding them or taking care of them. They've been neglected, so they're not being cared for properly. It's kind of sad when you see that happening. Or maybe you've seen kids who aren't being cared for properly either, and they look neglected. Well, she feels neglected because her parents are focusing almost solely or almost entirely on her older sister, Abby. But you know what? I have to say, it makes sense that they're focusing on Abby right now. She's the one that has the really serious issues instead of Charlie, who just wants to go and be in a dance competition. But when you're 12, you think the world revolves around you, that your life is really important. And so you sometimes have those sorts of feelings, which are kind of selfish. She should be thinking about her sister as well. She wants to help, which is good. So she wishes, here's her wish with that fish, she wishes that her family's insurance will cover Abby's treatment and aid her recovery. If you go into rehab, it's very expensive. Some countries, the government will pay for rehab, but if you want to go to the best facilities, they're private and you have to have really good insurance to pay for them. And so her wish is that her family's insurance, medical insurance, will cover Abby's treatment and aid her recovery. What's recovery, Tom?
That just means returning to a normal state. You're just back to normal. You're no longer sick. You could use this in different situations as well. You could talk about economic recovery. The economy of a country has been bad for many years. The inflation is high. You can't buy as much as you used to, but maybe someday there's going to be economic recovery and everything will be well again. Everything will be good again. So yes, she's going to assist in her sister's recovery. And before long, the situation improves. Okay, so yes, she has entered rehab. She's getting better. And eventually, over time, the situation improves. Abby returns home after treatment, and Charlie prepares for another competition. So it seems that everything is back to normal. Abby's back home again, and maybe after staying home for a while, she can go back to college. And so Charlie, well, she missed the first competition, but she starts to get ready for another one. Well, easy come, easy go. I missed the first one. There are always other competitions to enter.
We're going to talk more about this, guys, and finish off the plot. But first, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们昨天带大家开始看 The Seventh Wish 第七个愿望这个故事。总而言之，主角呢就是 Charlie。那 Charlie 呢，他很喜欢跳爱尔兰踢踏舞。那他跟他的姐姐啊，以前就会在住家这个结冰的湖边啊，寻找一些花霜啊，这个霜花啦，然后在那边玩。那后来 Abby 就上大学啦。上大学之后呢，这个 Charlie 啊，他自己也有自己的生活。那因为他呢很想要跳这个参加爱尔兰踢踏舞的比赛，可是又没有经费，所以在那个湖边呢，他钓鱼想要卖鱼来筹措经费，结果发现了一个 small talking fish 会说话的小鱼。然后我们谈到了他也许了很多愿望，但是结果有时候会跟他的 anticipation 期待有一点差别。那接下来我们就讲到说，这个 Abby 啊，她的姐姐因为病得很重的关系，虽然已经回家了，但是因为她病得很重，然后呢必须从大学被接回家。那到底是发生什么事情啊？今天故事呢一开始在第一段当中我们就看到，当然父母亲啊一定会对这个 Abby 她姐姐的需求的非常的重视嘛。不过 Charlie 觉得是蛮沮丧的，尤其是因为这样子他不能去比赛，没有人载他去，有没有？所以这件事情就想到说，之前许的愿望好像都想得不够周全呢。就算有一个 magic， 比如说某个人英文变好啦，同学英文变好，然后其实在课堂当中也很难融入。妈妈有好工作，就开始不能载他去这个练习啊，去比赛这些事情。我们在第一段的第二句当中，又看到我们昨天有分析过的 as 这个用法。这里的 as 我们先抓出来哈。逗点的 as magic cannot solve everything， 我们很显然从文意上去推测啊，这里的 as 就是 because， 所以我们再复习一次。在英文当中 as 后面你看到的动词的时候啊，就表示它是连接词。那它有三个意思，第一个 when， 二 because， 三如同好像。那当然这个如同好像就是以前我们会学这个准官带啦，准备当成官带，就是官带什么，那太复杂了，我们就把 as 记一 when 二 because 三如同好像。所以我们在写作的时候自己可以这样运用哦。不过第一段的第三句啊，还是要特别注意一下 resolving， 突然看到这个动词 ing 开头，其实在高中啊，我看8、9不离10就是分词构句了。你会发现从根据文意来推测 resolving to abandon the wish granting fish she accepts 她点点点真是一个分词构句耶，用 ing 或 pp 开头，连接词省略，但是逗点之后主词就是做这个动作的主角主词，所以它是一个分词构句。哇，他就决定要放弃那个鱼，不要再许愿了，要去照顾 Abby。 那就在他的生活似乎稳定，就居然有一个真相揭露。不过第一段的第四句我们又看到 as， 所以这个故事啊整个用 as 来贯穿。好，第四句看一下 just as life seems stable， 所以这里的 as 不就是 when 的意思吗？那 just 在英文当中就是强调嘛，就当生活似乎安定的时候，哇，什么事情发生了？什么事呢？原来是这样的，在第二段呢，他就说Abby 回到学校不久之后啊，有一通紧急电话就揭露了他原来有毒瘾耶。不过第二段的第一句啊，我们把 shortly after 这边把它框起来，特别是 shortly 这个字，当然字面上你可以看嘛， short 短加 ly 副词就是很短的意思，很短暂的就在那个之后，那就是很快咯。大家特别注意 shortly 这个副词通常只会搭配 after、before 这两个字比较多，所以你就记 shortly after、shortly before 就在什么之后，就在什么之前。那第二段还是不能放过，因为第二段的第三句又出现 as 啦，所以大家来看一下，我们来看一下第二段第三句的 as， 你来分辨看看是什么意思呢？ As her parents focus on Abby, she feels neglected， 所以在这里的 as 可能是 when 啊，because 好像也可以，对不对？那么接着呢，我们就看到同时父母亲啊就注意力都放 Abby 身上，他就觉得就被忽略了嘛，不过还是想要帮忙，所以就许愿说是不是可以有很多的治疗费用 可以然后让家里有钱一点呢？
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. This is day 2 of our literature unit. We're talking about the novel The Seventh Wish. And when we left you, we learned that Charlie is being a little bit selfish. She's frustrated because her parents are really focusing all their attention on her older sister, Abby. Abby had to come home from college. She was gravely ill. And she learns something that's pretty shocking to her later. Abby, her great older sister, who she's always looked up to, got involved with drugs, and she has a heroin addiction. It turns out she goes to a rehab facility and is trying to turn that around, trying to get her life back. She's going through a recovery process, and Abby is still feeling a little neglected by her parents. She feels like all the attention and time is being focused on her sister instead of herself. But before long, it says, the situation improves, things turn around.
Exactly. And again, Abby returns home from the treatment, and then Charlie prepares to go to another competition. Again, she missed the first one, but she's got another competition that she can partake in. And on the day of the event, on the day of the competition, Abby drives Charlie to the venue, but encounters a college friend involved in drugs.
Uh-oh.
Now, that's trouble, of course. Abby drives Charlie to the venue. Everything seems fine. But then after Abby, I guess, parks the car and starts going in, hey, I remember you. You're at college. You're one of my buddies. But unfortunately, this college friend is involved in drugs. Okay, so Abby has gone through rehab. Maybe this friend hasn't and is still addicted to heroin or morphine or whatever.
One of the worst things that you can do is go back to your old group of friends that were involved with your habit, your drug habit. And it sounds like poor Abby, because I do feel sorry for her. She runs into a friend, the worst kind of friend that is involved in drugs. And wow, that habit is really strong. So she's just brand new, fresh from her rehab treatment. She's trying to turn her life around, and bam, she runs into an old friend involved in drugs. So while Charlie is performing at the dance competition, Abby takes Charlie's money. Remember, Charlie has been saving money, and she vanishes with the friend. To vanish means you disappear without a trace. Nobody has any idea where you went. There are no clues. So later, Abby is found having overdosed and is rushed to the hospital. To overdose on drugs means you take so many that you're close to death. And usually if you overdose, you're rushed to the hospital. Hopefully it's in time and they can pump your stomach or give you some other drugs that counteract the drug that's trying to kill you, and they can save your life. But a lot of times when you overdose, you pass away. That's the end.
Yeah, it's pretty troublesome here because Abby had gone through rehab. It seems like she had recovered, but she ran into that old friend, and the old friend thought, oh, you shouldn't get off drugs. Here, I've got some here. Have a hit, let's do it again. What's wrong with this? And maybe Abby said, well, why not just this one time? And then one thing leads to another, and she's back to being addicted to heroin again, just like that. And as a result, she probably took too much heroin, so she overdosed. She took too much. She probably passed out or something like that, so she was rushed to the hospital. Oftentimes when you do see the word overdose, it means that the person actually died.
Yeah.
Usually you'll hear the phrase, he died of an overdose.
Right.
He took too much of this drug and died, is no longer living. Now here in the final paragraph it says, desperate to help, Charlie sneaks out to the lake to make one last wish. So she wants to help Abby. My goodness, Abby is in trouble again. She just overdosed and she's in the hospital, so I really need to help her. If you're desperate, you really need something, and if you can't get it, you're going to be in big trouble. You're going to experience despair, which is part of the word desperate.
Yeah.
And yes, she wants to figure out a way to help her sister Abby, so she sneaks out to the lake. She's not supposed to go there, but she leaves secretly to go to that lake to find that fish and make one last wish. I guess this is the 7th wish.
Yeah, that's what sneak means. You do something in a secret way. You don't want other people to see what you're doing. If you sneak out of the house, you're usually tiptoeing outside. You close that door quietly so your parents don't hear it. You only get into trouble when you do those sorts of things, though, so be careful. She sneaks out to make that one last wish. I think this is the 7th wish. But the ice breaks as she goes, over the ice.
Oh, no.
And she nearly drowns. That's a really scary situation. After being rescued, thankfully someone was there and could help her. Charlie realizes that no wish can genuinely amend the situation. To amend something means to make minor changes to fix something. Maybe you have written a report and your boss disagrees with a portion of it and wants you to amend it. So you take it back, you rewrite another section, and you resubmit it. So genuinely amend means to really, truly fix something. And she realizes that no matter how much magic that fish has, that fish and granting the wishes isn't going to fix the situation.
Right, so she's going to be very practical now. She's going to be realistic. She chooses to support Abby in practical or realistic ways as Abby agrees to re-enter rehab. So Abby knows that she has this bad habit and she has, fallen off the wagon again, I guess. She went back to her addiction and she says, okay, I better go through rehab again. And although Abby cannot guarantee a drug-free future, she pledges to improve daily. So this is kind of how the story ends. It doesn't really have a solid conclusion here because Abby might continue having this problem of being addicted to heroin and then going through rehab and just going back and forth for the rest of her life. But still, she promises that she's going to try. So she pledges to improve day by day. So here to pledge just means to promise. Oftentimes it means you're going to promise to give someone money. You might want to make a pledge to a charity, for example. You're going to say, I'm going to give you money in the future. I'll write you a check or whatever. Or if you're a member of some kind of club, I listen to various online radio broadcasts, and they're always asking for pledges from people to support them because it costs them a lot of money to have their programming on the internet. So yes, they want you to pledge money to become a member or something like that. And here she pledges or promises to improve every day.
Well, Charlie is inspired to turn her final wish into a vow to confront challenges with courage, one day at a time. To confront means to face up to a challenge or to deal with a challenge here. But confront can also mean, guys, that you meet someone face to face and you have this argument, or maybe you have a hostile sort of discussion to confront. But here it just means to face up to or deal with a problem instead of ignoring it and trying to pretend it doesn't exist. She makes that final wish to herself, I think, instead of to the fish. And she vows or promises to herself, she makes a promise to herself that she'll always deal with challenges with courage, one day at a time, and never give up.
Indeed. And I'm also wondering if that fish really existed. Maybe it was her imaginary friend or something like that. She imagined this fish out there. But this is a young reader's novel, so I guess the fish was real enough. Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. Let's turn things over now to our Chinese teacher.
后来没过多久啊，情况就开始好转啦，因为 Abby 治疗就回去啦。然后呢，这个 Charlie 就想要准备比赛。那后来 Abby 就开车载 Charlie 到会场。不过又发生了一些事情，在第3段的地方。第3段的时候，我们发现啊 ，Charlie 表演的时候 ，Abby 居然拿了他的钱，跟在当场啊遇到一个涉毒的大学好友去吸毒了，真的糟糕。第3段第5句这个地方，我们把它看到这个第3段这边有个特殊的句型，把 be found 的 be 动词 is found having 这个地方抓出来。他被发现正在做一件事情，或者是加 PP。She 指的是 Abby Abby is found having overdosed. 被人发现正在做一件事，或被人发现被动的接受某一个动作。因为 find 这个字啊，它后面加的受词还要加个补语，比如说他被发现，被发现干嘛呢？ doing something， 或者是 PP 被动接受一个动作。那当然 Charlie 就很想要帮忙啊，所以赶快溜到湖边啊，想要许下最后一个愿望。最后面的第4段我们看到了第一句，这里也是一个分词构句哦，跟刚才我们的第2段第一句很像，都是一个 because 省略， Charlie 主词省略跟 be 动词省略。 Because Charlie is desperate to help， 他很想急着帮忙，于是他又许愿了。那最后面第4段的第4句啊，我们还是看到 as， 这里的 as 把它抓出来，可能是 when 也可能是 because 的意思。所以我们2天的故事呢，我们复习了这个 as 当连接词的用法，然后我们也复习了一些分词构句。那当然这个故事呢，基本上是一个 happy ending。那后来这个 Abby 也有获救啊，然后也要再次进入这个戒毒中心，然后他现在呢自己也承诺每天都要很努力，这是一个 happy ending。可是我们明天还要再深入探讨这个故事它的主题，还有它给我们所带来的意义。我是安娜，我们明天见。
That's it, guys. We are done with the plot. In our next program, though, we're going to focus on the author herself, Kate Mesner, and talk about some of the themes that have been discussed in the plot, what our author was trying to communicate with this particular novel, and some of the themes that are important to everyday lives. There are a lot of people that are struggling with some of these problems, especially addiction.
Okay, so we're going to see you next time, so please join us then, and also check out our content on Facebook and YouTube. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
And I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.